Okay. We are at 6:30, so I'm going to call this meeting of the Facilities Committee to order. Dan, could you do a roll call, please?
Venice Theronot,
Here.
Goss,
Here.
Harper, Loxton,
Here.
Rodriguez, Taylor,
Here.
Wilkin,
Here.
Summers.
Present. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved.
Okay, I'm going to give Jenny made the motion and Jim made the second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Taylor, second by Goss. Again, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Public participation. Not seeing any members of the public here that wish to speak. Any communications from members of the board, or the committee, rather? Okay, seeing none, let's go to new business. Dana, you want to start out with item A, the satellite jail HVAC replacement?
So the satellite jail project has been going outstandingly well the last month. They've got a lot of work done. Richard Van Note from GHR Engineering is here to give you an update, as well as the information that was included in your packet. I provide that because it gives you a pretty good idea kind of the work that's going on. And if you can see as you drive by the satellite jail, it's that little building that's been added up top on the roof that they've been spending a lot of work on, but they've also been laying pipe and doing a bunch of control wiring on the inside of the building. So, Richard, you want to give us an update?
Yeah, as Dana was discussing, and we've kind of gone over before, this project kind of got off to a little bit of a rocky start, but we're really kind of starting to move on this one now. The intent has always kind of been to complete the infrastructure needs, which is essentially the installation of the chillers, the boilers, and piping, to be prepared to in order to do the air handler replacements kind of in April as we get into this nicer weather. Happy to report that in the last month they've been able to get the new penthouse dried in. They're in the process of putting metal panels up now, hoping to have those done here soon. With that penthouse dried in, they've really been able to get up there. They've got the boilers inside. They've got all the new pumps set inside of that penthouse. They've got most of the new piping that's at least in the new penthouse. They've got a lot of it installed. And they're in the process of kind of starting to extend that piping to the old penthouses and across the roof as necessary to kind of make their connections. At this point in time, we're really kind of meeting what our new deadlines are. So I think we're in good shape to kind of have a lot of this infrastructure work done as we kind of planned. And like I said, when we hit April and we hit some nicer weather, we should be able to move forward and get those air handler replacements done. With regards to the controls upgrade, which was done as part of this project as well, which, as we kind of stated in previous meetings, that's getting done in order to really get rid of the pneumatic controls, bring the building back up to DDC controls, which will allow us to really hone in on the efficiency of the building and be able to kind of really bring around some energy savings within the space. The Alpha Controls, who's doing that project, they are currently on site pulling control cabling throughout the building to where we can go ahead and get those upgrades done. And from the discussions we've had with them, within the next couple weeks, they're really going to start being able to get those switchovers done from the pneumatic to DDC. So as it stands now, like I said, after some of the hiccups we had earlier in the project back in the fall, we're really kind of moving forward on this one. It feels like we're really starting to hit our stride.
Remind the committee that we did qualify for an Ameren grant for approximately $110,000 for upgrade of some of this equipment, boilers, as well as some of the air handlers. So once this project is done, we'll notify them of completion, and they'll fulfill their part of the agreement. Any questions for Richard or HVAC?
Go ahead, Jenny.
So what is it looking like the new, I guess, completion date would be on this one now?
The the intent for this is for the completion date to be hopefully towards the end of April. One of the keys to this entire project is the switch over the air handlers. With the two of those air handlers serving the inmate pods, we can't exactly do those switchovers during the summer. We don't want to be doing that during harsher weather. So the intent is to have everything in place to where when we hit some nicer weather in April and the building can kind of carry itself for a day or two as we have those air handlers down, the intent is to have those switchovers done then. So if everything kind of proceeds as hopeful, the intent is to be done by late April if we end up with some weather issues early May, but we are not looking to proceed into the summer with this project.
It was very nice coming by Monday morning and looking at the project. I could tell just from the exterior that you'd made really great strides. I was surprised. Anyway, thank you so much.
Richard, thank you.
Yep, thank you, Richard. Let's move on to item B, the update on County Plaza and program statement discussion for our space needs.
We have Darlene's here to talk a little bit about process and what we've been doing. And then we also have Carla Smalley from Bailey Edward Design to give you an idea about the process for programming. So, Darlene?
Yeah, I just wanted to come this evening and let you know that we have signed our contract for purchase. The closing date we expect to be April the 5th. And we are starting work right away. So in addition to making arrangements for parking, which will change with the County Plaza parking space, we are hoping to keep that space mostly vacant for construction. So the people who are currently parking there on the county side will be able to still park there until we need the spots, but we're not opening it up for everybody else to park yet because, first of all, there's structural issues with the parking deck, and second of all, we need the space to start planning the construction. So I just also wanted to let you know I've met with all the county officials over the past several months to talk about potentially what they would like to have happen in terms of space, but we have a project going forward now with the architect. And so Carla can talk to you about what our process will be going forward. We have a group of 5 people that will be making decisions with regard to where things are going and that sort of thing. And it's primarily the folks that will have the largest amount of space needs or spaces to move. It includes the treasurer, the county clerk, the sheriff, myself, and who am I forgetting? And Dana. And Janie, the public defender, and then Dana. So that's the group with the architect that'll be working on the space planning, unless one of those people drops out and they decide they don't need space over there. So we still haven't made all those decisions. But it also will include who's going to stay here in Brookings or the courthouse. Potentially, there's also projects going on there. So I'll let Carla talk to you a minute.
Carla Smalley. I'm with Bailey Edward, and I'm here just to go over very briefly the programming process that we will be going through with the stakeholders that will be potentially moving into the building. Right.
Yes.
Mike. I need to talk into the mic. Can you hear me now? So like Darlene had said, we have already formed our core design committee. These are the key stakeholders that will be moving into the plaza building. And we like to say that everyone potentially has a voice, not everyone has a vote. The core design committee will be our voting members. So we'll meet with all of the different departments and units that are potentially moving into the facility, and then hear their space needs, and then talk about how we're going to fit it all into this one building. So basically we have our engagement, which I just went over. We'll have prioritization, visualization, and then our communication plan. So we'll get everyone together, we'll hear what the needs are, how everyone's operating now, how they want to operate, and try and come to an agreement. And that's our prioritization. We've used flip charts and sticky tabs, all kinds of things to get this engagement and figure out what our priority list is. We've even used money, where everyone gets the same amount of money and you have to put all your dollars in what you think is the priority. Some people put all their money on one thing, which is completely allowed if that's their priority. And we've used this method too virtually. The pandemic has changed some of these things, where we can do this in Zoom or over Teams, and everyone can write down what they think is their priority. We start putting all the sticky tabs under virtual headings, and try and organize what spaces need to be where the adjacencies need to be, all those kind of good things. And then get to the visualization. So that's when we come back to the core design committee and say we think, oh, yes.
Go ahead, Leah.
Can you move the mic closer to you?
Yes, sorry.
Not just
Can-
for us, but also because it's for the recording.
Sure.
Thank you.
Is this better? Okay, sorry about that. So then the visualization, and one thing that we think is very important is communication with the core design committee and with the not only the core design committee, but who they have to report back to. So we do typically now set up a team site where we can share all those files, and you guys aren't having to dig through emails to try and find schedules or meeting minutes or presentations. So that really is it in a nutshell, what we're going to do as far as the programming phase. Is there questions, comments?
Well, I have a question. I'll jump in and get you do it in just a second, Jim. I'm hearing a little bit about the process, but precisely how are needs going to be determined?
Those will be determined by the stakeholders and prioritized by the core design committee.
So the group of
we-
5 will then select the priorities that will be moving forward. Am I hearing that correctly?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Sorry, the group of 5 in your core committee will be voting and selecting how things will be moving forward then.
Correct.
Is that
yes.
a weighted vote? Is that an even vote?
I'm sorry, one more time.
Is that a weighted vote or an even vote?
Even? It's usually just a consensus. If everyone agrees, we can move forward. If there's 2 or 3 that don't agree, we try to find a different option.
And how will input from folks that will be affected by this but are not in this core group, how will that be brought into the conversation?
So typically how that works is the core group then goes back, after we have our initial meetings with all of the units or the departments that that are potentially coming into the building. The decisions that are made in the core design committee are then relayed from those committee members back to, I guess, back to their units and or departments.
And they'll then provide feedback.
Yes, yes.
Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, this may be premature, but I think the goal should be to try to get as many of these people out of this facility as possible. You probably don't know that answer today because you probably haven't even assessed the need for square footage.
Correct.
Do
We've had an initial meeting with everyone that's potentially moving into the plaza, but what we've asked them to do, a little bit of homework for us before our next meeting, is to find their square footage, how many people are in that square footage, and what their needs are going to be potentially for the next 5 to 10 years.
So
we
is
could
there
plan for that.
is there a standard square foot per employee, or is that just a
It varies
feel?
I mean, there's prescribed square footages based on whether it's a private office or a shared office or, whatever the functions are, there are prescribed square footages for those. And there are industry standards, but then there also can be Champaign County standards. There's universities that have their own standards, so we'll have to collect all that information as well.
Okay, thanks.
Go ahead, Jody.
Yeah, I just want to express the same thoughts that Jim, I think that our goal is to make sure that everybody moves into the new building. To maintain two buildings, being on this committee, I think we all know what maintenance fees have due to this county. So I think the goal really should be to make sure that everybody moves. So
Go ahead, Jenny.
Probably also a very premature question, but with the April 5th closing, what is the earliest we would expect anybody to start moving into County Plaza?
Oh, I mean, we've got design scheduled and construction documents. Ideally, if everything goes smoothly, we should be bidding by the end of the year is our goal. If we move quickly and sign a contract with a contractor, it's going to be January, maybe late December. And I am anticipating at least 12 months of construction.
Jenny, we're realistically looking at January of '24 with all the work that's got to be done at the building, both in the parking deck as well as building envelope and HVAC, security system that'll have to be put in place, video surveillance, as well as access controls. Sheriff will be there. He'll need certain access controls. We want to lock out probably his floor from the public elevators. Certain doors will only need to, come in from the public. So there's a lot of things to be worked out, but it's, it'll be all of January of '24.
And is the goal, do you think, to have the sheriff in there first and settled so we can get everybody out of the downtown building?
Believe me, we want to get him out of there as quickly as possible. And we'll do our darndest to meet the schedule that we've kind of outlined. Bid out towards the end of the year, basically the same time frame you're going to hear Chuck Reefsack talk about, that we'll be bidding out and doing the work at the jail consolidation project. So.
One further question. After your initial meeting, earlier you spoke about people potentially that would be moving to County Plaza. Do you have a list of those entities that are potentially moving to County Plaza if you're kind of bifurcating between those that are and those that aren't?
One more time.
Question was, do we have a list of county departments here at Brookings that are wanting to move? Is that? Okay.
Yeah, because you talked about folks that potentially would be moving into County Plaza. So
Yeah.
do you have a list of those entities? Which ones?
We have a list. Darlene provided Carla and myself with a list of the departments that she's talked to about potential movement with their needs that are listed on that. So it's the list that we started with, and we'll be meeting with each and every department. One of the things that we'll do this week yet is get, for Brookings, a floor plan of each of the departments as well as the square footage out to them so that they can begin thinking about, what their needs will be. There's a form that Carla's office will provide each of the departments in preparation for the first set of meetings with each of the departments.
That's great. I'm sure committee members would like to see that list. So at earliest convenience, I'd like to have that provided to the committee.
Sure, there will be meeting minutes that I will send out tomorrow from our meeting on Friday.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I'm sure that those.
Hello? There. Okay, so to answer your question, I spoke with all the departments. Most of the departments are pretty small and are a few offices, which is office space. Most of them indicate, well, I will say, there was some indication of preference whether they stay here or move to County Plaza, but they're fairly small, so they're not, it won't really impact our decisions about that except where they're located in terms of adjacencies. Put in, for example, people down the administration hallway, it's basically 8 individual offices. If you go to the auditor, it's 6 individual offices and a small conference room. So those kinds of things aren't making the decisions for how the building will get designed or where things will go, but they've all been spoken to. They know that this is happening. We'll continue to contact them. They'll still be giving information about how much space they need and how they want their offices operating. But they won't be making the decisions that are related to security of the building and those kinds of things, because they're basically just office spaces.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any further questions? Hearing none, let's move to item C, the update on the jail consolidation schematic design phase.
Yep. We have Chuck Resack here. I've invited Chuck to kind of give you an idea of what the process is that we've been involved with. The sheriff, captain of corrections, some of her staff, as well as some of the sheriff's staff members have been heavily involved in meetings with Chuck and his team. So, Chuck?
Red means on? Yeah, okay. Yeah, we're in the schematic design phase of our project, of the jail consolidation. And so that's the initial architectural phase where the building size is determined, its character is determined, its layout, floor plan functionality, those kinds of things are determined. We had set a schedule when we started this project at the beginning of January of having the schematic design phase due next week, and that's still our target. As we go through the process, we intend to be out to bid in September and be able to, the county board be able to award bids, award contracts at their meeting in November. So that's our target. We're still on that. We think that'll still work. So where we are with schematic design, we've had 5 team meetings with the county team that was assigned to work with us. We still have, as we discussed last fall, when we talked about a plan to implement a portion of the master plan to get the downtown jail closed, of housing for 74 beds in 2 pods. One of those pods is a 25-bed special needs unit. The other is a 49-bed male-female flex-use pod. The design is creating a lot of flexibility for different small classification groups that the jail needs for housing different classifications of inmates, including flexibility with the female population, which wildly fluctuates, from 5 one day to 35 the following. So we're creating smaller units so that flexibility doesn't, we're not wasting space in a large unit with just a few females in it or a few people of a different classification. So lots of classifications. We've worked very close with the sheriff and his staff and Carrie Voges to get that design to her liking over there at the jail. The design also includes a healthcare clinic. In that healthcare clinic, we have 2 exam rooms, a dental operatory, pharmacy, medical supply storage, workspace, and a waiting space for 8 inmates. We have a mental health office. We have inmate program space that will be created from vacating the current healthcare clinic space. We have indoor exercise with both the new pods. We are going to still be enclosing the current outdoor exercise areas in the 2 existing pods and creating as an alternate bid, still at this point, new outdoor exercise areas as well. There's some staff space in the new addition, offices for the jail commander, the lieutenants and shift sergeants. We're planning to upgrade the whole master control security electronic system throughout the whole jail. And there's a secure refuge area to the far east outside of the jail in the event of an emergency. We had outlined last fall that we thought we needed 28,800 square feet to do that, and that's exactly where our design is today. Where we are with our process, I mentioned our schematic design is due next week. We added to our team because of the market conditions with construction costs and unpredictability I'm sure you've all heard about this. We added a professional cost estimator, and all of our drawings are in his hands right now, getting his expertise to see whether we're on budget. We hope we are, but we'll see here in a few days where we stand. If we're over budget, we have some harder decisions to make. If we're under budget, we might be able to include those outdoor exercise areas that are currently an alternate bid. So that's where we are. I'm happy to answer questions.
Anyone have questions? Go ahead, Jim.
Just a quick one. Can you go through those timeline? It was out to bid in September.
Sure,
When
and
was
I'll
the
give you a few
award?
more dates here too. So schematic design for that first phase, we're due next week. I think that's the 16th, as I recall, middle of next week. Design development, we're targeting to have that due by May 18th. Construction documents is a longer phase, so we have both a 50% submission and an out to bid submission, and that 50% is scheduled for July 20th. The out to bid date is September 14th. I don't know that we've set a bid opening date yet, but it would be sometime in October, so that then we got time to evaluate the bids, check on qualifications, that type of thing, and be able to have it to your board by your meeting on the 17th of November for approval. And right now, we're estimating about 18 months for construction. That evaluation is going on right now with the cost estimates.
Anyone else have any questions? Hearing none? Thank you, Chuck.
I
Go
might
ahead.
add one thing, Steve. We also took a tour, several of us, a couple of folks from the county as well. McLean County just completed a jail project a year and a half or so ago. We toured that, had a great tour with the McLean staff. They were very informative. Saw some things we liked, saw some things we didn't like. So it was very, very good to see a recently completed facility for the jail staff and all of us. So that was very helpful as well.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Thanks.
Well, is there any other business to be brought up? Dana, do you have anything that you want to add at this point? Okay. All right. There is no presiding officer's report. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, April 5th, and we have no items to be placed on consent. So we stand adjourned. Thank you much for coming, folks.